Right, hello everybody, Adam Clery from FourFourTwo here. Just a quick public service announcement today. Can you please stop asking us to do a tactical preview on the USA at Copa America? The Euros are on right now. We can't be getting distracted. Our focus is there. We might revisit it in time for the World Cup. Sorry, that's my phone. Hello? Oh, what's that? The North American YouTube audience is easily the most profitable thing on the entire platform. Oh, okay. Howdy, y'all! Alright, so we're still in the very early thrusts of the Copa America. USA are lining up like this currently, and it's a very exciting time for the United States men's national team. They've got that whole World Cup thing coming up in a couple of years, and they were allowed to participate in the Copa America for a change, but actually had to qualify for it, which is obviously slightly precarious because you don't want to host a tournament and then not be able to play in it. But they've got there, they're playing like this, and they are one of the more fancied of the outsiders, let's say. They reached the semi-finals the last time they competed in 2016, and were they to do the same again, that would set them up very, very nicely for what could potentially be the biggest summer in US soccer since David Beckham discovered that they sell Brill cream in Los Angeles. Now, there is a whole backstory about manager 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗥𝗔-𝗬𝗓, and he was going to stay, and he was going to go, and then he did go, and then they couldn't find anybody else, so in the end he stayed. So there are some question marks over this team and their suitability, the way he's using them. But right now, things do appear to be working, and they looked really good. So what is this team? How does it play? I will break it down for you. But just really quickly, before I do that, if you are based in the US of A, this is your first time watching the channel, then first off, hello, welcome. This is our vibe. This is our thing. If you could kindly see your way to the subscribe button, the more of you we get on board with this video, the more we can do these videos in the future. We can cover Messi at Miami. We'll be doing more on the national side. So big things are coming, hopefully, for soccer in the US. So let's start them here. Right, so first off, the formation. There was some debate going into the tournament whether we would see them in a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3, but from what we've seen thusly, it is the 4-3-3 that is being favoured, and that does feel like it suits at least these 11 players really well. So Matt Turner was always going to be the goalkeeper here, no real question there. Anthony Robertson has made the left-back spot his own. Richards and Ream, they are the preferred centre-back pairing, but at right-back there were some question marks given that Dest is currently missing. In his place is Joseph Scally from Borussia Mönchengladbach, and just a quick joke for all our US fans who haven't heard all the jokes we've done to death in this country. Who's the least popular person at a Borussia Mönchengladbach game? The person who goes, "Give me a B." It's not all just tactics on this channel, you know. We got jokes as well. In front of them, there's Tyler Adams, who will occasionally drop in between the two centre-backs to give them a back three. There is Gio Reyna, who was very underwhelming in the Premier League, yes, but has never, ever, ever let his country down. And Weston McKennie on the opposite side as an 8. The main attacking threat comes from Timothy Weah on the right and Christian Pulisic on the left, except no, it doesn't, but we'll talk about that later. And up front so far has been Florian Balogun. That was kind of the other major question mark in this side, whether they would go with him or Coventry City's Haji Wright.
Florian Balogun.
What did I say?
Florian.
It's Florian. Florian Balogun. Even though it looks like Florian. Florian Balogun. Florian Balogun. Can't believe I didn't know that. Well, those are the names, apparently, but how does this system work? Well, fundamentally, there is a lot of width, there is a lot of direct attacking action, and there's a lot of stability in the centre of the pitch. Primarily, though, the most interesting parts are the fullbacks and the two wide attackers. Pulisic and Weah both start left and right, but their brief is far more horizontal than it is vertical. They will both get right in next to the centre forward. They'll play quite centrally. They'll swap sides if they want to, and that gives them the tactical flexibility to really go and hurt teams. Like I'll just show you here, Christian Pulisic's heat map from that first game. You'll see he obviously gets the ball a lot on the left-hand side where he's needed, but there's lots of time spent in the centre. There's lots of time going to find the ball. There's even a lot of time on the right-hand side. And it's exactly the same story with Timothy Weah. A lot of the time he's on the ball on the right-hand side, but he's free to float, he's free to go collect it, and he's free to swap as well. Really good example of this in the second goal against Bolivia. The USA have got nice, settled possession in their own half. Bolivia probably think they're in a fairly good defensive shape. Pulisic breaks away from the left-hand side, comes both deep and central, receives the ball between their lines, and then he gets turned, and the three of them in the space of about 10 yards, are away as a collective 3. Because 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗥𝗔 has come really central, that allows then 𝗈𝗫𝗍𝗠 to come out to the left-hand side to move away from his defence. Now, you imagine you're trying to mark these two, you'll know that your guy's over there and you're now picking up somebody else. It's the kind of sort of rotations, they're called, that are great for attacking moves. And then obviously it also helps if you're capable of finishing like this. Now, you're quite smart, you're no doubt looking at this shape and going, well, yeah, that'll give you loads of central attacking threat, Adam, but where on earth are you going to get any width from? And that is the job of both the fullbacks. Both 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗏 and Anthony Robertson, they are given total freedom to push as far up the flanks as they are reasonably able to. Their job is to not just push the fullbacks of the opposition back, but to try and take the wide attackers back with them. And then from there, with the rest of the team all sort of pushing up, it's quite common to see the USA in the opposition half in this sort of 3-2-5 formation. And while you're unlikely to see it against the quote-unquote big teams, when the USA are playing a side that they feel technically or physically superior to, it's not uncommon to see them commit even more players than this forward. The freedom in this system given to both Weah and 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗥 means they can go near the centre forward if they want to. One of them can drop out to the flank and double up on an opposition defender, and then the 2-8, in this case McKennie and 𝗘𝗫𝗓𝗓, they can then push forward into the spaces that are left there. They will throw so many players forward and just overwhelm the opposition. And not to make this video 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗥𝗔-𝗧𝗑 or anything, but just to add McKennie's on to the ones you've already seen. You'll see he's doing loads of his work in this right-hand number 8. He's dropping deep, he's receiving the ball, but just the little wisps here into the box, even into the 6-yard box. He is a runner from midfield. He is allowed to do that. It is built into the system. And just to show you that in action, this is them counter-attacking against Bolivia here. You can sort of see they're getting that front 5. As we discussed, they're all pushing forward. The width is coming from the fullbacks. The 2 wide forwards are in a more narrow position. And from this starting sort of freeze frame, you see everybody's where they're supposed to be. But then the player in the inside forward position, he stops his run, he cuts back, he shows short, which allows the fullback to continue the run on the outside. And when he receives it, McKennie then makes the run himself, takes the ball back and drives into the box with it. He gives it him back, there's a cut across goal, 𝗈𝗫𝗍𝗠 finishes it, and it wasn't just for being like tiny little bit fractionally offside, you'd have one of the best goals you've seen this team score in a fair old while. Alright, now if I was doing this properly, I would have started with how they defend, then how they build up, then how they attack, but obviously how you score goals is a lot more fun, so we'll talk about all the grown-up stuff now. I've probably made the USMNT look like quite a sort of exciting counter-attacking side there, which they are capable of being, but were you to ask them to sing the one true song of their hearts, it would go along the lines of, we want to have settled possession and dominate in numbers, which admittedly doesn't rhyme. And the way they build up is actually pretty similar to how they attack, because you'll see the wide forwards take sort of a more sort of central position to allow the fullbacks to push up, but then you get one of the central midfielders, if they're playing that 4-2-3-1, or just the 6 pivot if they're playing the 4-3-3, will drop between the centre backs, allow them to spread, and you get this sort of lined it up slightly wrong, but you get this kind of diamond between the 3 of them and the goalkeeper. Now obviously a lot of teams will do stuff like this. What matters is your mentality and sort of your attitude when you're doing it, and instead of sort of going around waiting for gaps to open, the USA really do prioritise getting the ball into one of these 3 players here and then getting it forward through a line into any of these 4 as quickly as possible. They very rarely will drop back to help with the build-up, instead holding a position to break a defensive line, get turned and go. But there is actually one fairly clever thing this USA team will do, which does kind of contradict what I've just said, although that's probably why it works. Against a team that are sitting low and deep but do still want to press them, what they'll occasionally do instead is, instead of splitting the centre backs, the number 6 will stay in sort of the midfield position, but the 8s will drop alongside him in a nice line. So what you get then is this sort of 5 players at the back, all central. From there, again, as per, you'll have the wide attackers sort of just drop but stay quite narrow. The fullbacks, they'll push up to offer some width, and then to give the opposition a bit of a problem, because this gap here is not really where you want to be if you're defending. Because they've got 5 players here, 6 if you include the goalkeeper, all capable of keeping the ball and circulating possession, it draws on way more members of the opposition to the press. They've got to commit loads of players forward if they want to try and harass them for the ball. And occasionally, when they're doing that, they can accidentally leave themselves with a 5v4 at the back. So it's very easy for 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗥𝗔 or one of the fullbacks or somebody to drop into a bit of space and then receive a really direct ball through that line. This is something they do look to utilize. Like, you can see it here in the Jamaica game. Like, under normal circumstances, you'd look at this sort of shape and this build-up and think it's a really sort of unadventurous, like uncommitted build-up from a side. They're not really looking to do anything. They're keeping far too many players behind the ball. But then, really quickly, the pass comes and you realize that what they've done is they've pulled the opposition way further up the pitch than they were intending to be. Now, you take all of that and you combine it with sort of an attacking front five that are good at rotations, that have got direct running in them, that are more technical than they're maybe given credit for, and you've got what is theoretically actually a really sort of dangerously incisive and also flexible attacking unit. Well, all right, that's all well and good, Adam, but this is the USA. God damn it, there's a little thing here called defense. Ever heard of it? And yes, I have, and they can do that too. If you imagine here, you're a football team, you're playing the USA, you have your defensive line here, your line of midfielders here. The only real pressure that comes from the USA side is just by dropping off. The attackers do not go and look to press the defenders, but they do look to constantly block those first passes out of defense into the midfield. And because the three of them will sit really sort of narrow, the idea behind that is it forces teams to kind of go out wide where they can apply pressure from the fullbacks, potentially win it back and break into the space behind them, or because they've got a lot of numbers in these central areas here, force them to kick slightly longer where they'll make themselves favourite to win it back that way. Is it effective? Well, it certainly can be, yes, but it requires a lot of out of possession, off the ball work from these front three, and if they are able to be played around, then they tend to find themselves sitting very deep. They can then get boxed into their own half and it's slightly difficult to get out. Against a team that's got the skill, the guile and everything else to sort of play through that, you can see where the problems start to happen, because they played Germany at the end of last year, and in pretty much every single major German chance, you'll see them going en masse, tracking back into their own box, and there are 7-8 players here, all sort of locked down on the edge of their own third, meaning that Germany were then free to sort of get the ball to players on the outside of the box, and they have the quality then to play through that and create chances. So against the really big teams, this isn't ideal, but it's serving them well enough so far. But before we go, there is time to tell you about one last weapon the USA has in its arsenal. A secret weapon that could potentially see them go further in this Copa America than anybody predicts. Meet this man, 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗏𝗍, who, yes, you are noticing immediately is 71 years old and will not be in the starting lineup in any way, shape or form. He is the US men's national team's recently appointed king of set pieces. Now, if you saw their opening goal against Bolivia and thought, wow, that was a really incredibly well-worked corner routine, not only does 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗏𝗍 create a 2-on-1 on the outside here, but when he takes this shot, the USA have a player directly in the eye line of the keeper, meaning he doesn't see it late. If you thought that was really clever, I'd hate to burst the bubble, they didn't just come up with that on the fly. 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗏𝗍 is a set-piece master. In fact, he was one of the main reasons that Italian side got all the way to the final of Euro 2020 and went and won the thing. In one of their knockout games against Wales, when they were finding no way through that back line at all, they came up with this really inventive set piece. Everybody pulls around the back, that's where the Welsh attention is, and it's actually just clipped into the near post, a lovely little deft finish, and it's in the back of the net. And then, and I can't believe I'm making myself relive this, the equaliser in the final itself. That is another really clever, unexpected near post corner that's flicked into this danger area, and yes, it is a massive scramble, but they've created the sort of environment where that is likely to score, and that gets them back in the game and they go on to win it. So yes, there you go. That is the United States tactics at the Copa America. They've got a reasonably well set and sort of steady defensive line. They build up through the thirds very nicely. They like to have possession in the opposition half, but they're also capable of breaking at pace, of getting things on the transitions, of having flexible attacking play. And if I'm making that sound like it's the best thing in the world, well, I don't know, maybe it is. Just a heads up though, if you are American and it is your first time on the channel, I've got a real good record for jinxing teams the last couple of times I've done these videos, so prepare to see them get tonked 6-0 by El Salvador or whoever they're playing. But no, I'm only joking. If you are an American fan, you have enjoyed all of this, again, please do consider subscribing to us here on 442. Like, we would love to do more coverage of the USMNT, the USWNT, the MLS, and all those other letters that you guys like so much. We can only do that with your support, so please do consider hitting the little button here, and that might happen. In the meantime, though, if you'd like to continue the conversation or just tell me why the word colour shouldn't be spelt with a U, you can get me on Twitter and everywhere else at Adam Clery, Clery. The 442 socials there in the corner of the video. I will actually, if we've got a magazine anywhere I can show them. This is the magazine we produce, is what we're famed for here in the UK, and I'm told off camera you can get it in Barnes and Noble, so check either of those places out and they might have a copy in. Yeah, in the meantime though, I've been Adam Clery, that's the US national team. We will see you soon. What's like an American sort of sign off? What do they say? See you later, dude.